Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today in this lecture we will discuss the chronic tonsillitis. By definition, the chronic tonsillitis may be defined in a number of ways. Number one is if the patient presents with 3 to 4 episodes of acute tonsillitis per year for the last 3 years or more than 3 years, then we will call this as a chronic or recurrent tonsillitis. The second definition is that if the patient presents with 5 to 6 repeated attacks of acute tonsillitis per day per year for the last 2 consecutive years or more than 2 years, then again we will call this as a chronic tonsillitis case. Similarly, if a patient presents with 7 or more repeated episodes of acute tonsillitis in 1 year, then we will call again this patient as having a chronic tonsillitis. Nowadays, chronic tonsillitis is also named as recurrent tonsillitis. Types of chronic tonsillitis. Chronic tonsillitis is of 4 types. The one is the chronic hypertrophic or parenchymatous tonsillitis. Second is chronic follicular tonsillitis. Third is chronic membranous tonsillitis. And the fourth one is the chronic atrophic or fibroid tonsillitis. This figure diagram shows the chronic parenchymatous tonsillitis. In this photograph, you can see chronic follicular tonsillitis. This is a case of chronic membranous tonsillitis. Etiology. Chronic tonsillitis mostly affects the children and young adults. It may result due to as a complication of acute tonsillitis. Sometimes the patient will have subclinical infection in the tonsil, and rarely the patient may have chronic tonsillitis secondary to chronic sinusitis or dental sepsis. Clinical features. Symptoms first. The patient will present with repeated recurrent attacks of sore throat. As already I have mentioned, the repeated episodes may be 3 attacks of acute tonsillitis per year for the last 3 years, or he may have 5 to 6 attacks of acute tonsillitis per year for the last 2 consecutive years, or sometimes the patient may have 7 attacks of acute tonsillitis in 1 year. Similarly, the patient sometimes may present with long-standing irritation in the throat with cough. He may have bad smell from the mouth, that is called halitosis. The patient may have dysphagia due to enlarged size of the tonsils. Similarly, the patient may have odynophagia or thick speech. Clinical signs of chronic tonsillitis. The patient may have 2 or 3 of these clinical signs. First, size of the palatine tonsil. Size of the palatine tonsil is not a very good sign because the patient may have chronic tonsillitis in spite of normal looking tonsils. He may have sometimes hypertrophic type of chronic tonsillitis or even atrophic or fibroid type of tonsillitis. And so the size of the tonsil uh, is not a very good sign. Anyhow, according to the size, we can uh, note the size of the tonsils. The patient may have fetid smell from the mouth or halitosis. And if we press the tonsil, then there may appear cheesy material from the crypts. This is called Irwin Murray sign. This is seen in fibroid type of chronic tonsillitis or sometimes chronic follicular tonsillitis. The patient may present with intratonsillar cyst or retention cyst formation, which may be seen on examination. The examiner may note anterior pillar congestion, that is also known as flushing or redness of the anterior pillars. And similarly, the examiner may note palpable but non-tender jugulodigastric lymph nodes in the neck. These are the important signs of chronic tonsillitis. This photograph is showing the congestion or flushing of the anterior tonsillar pillar. In this case, you can see an intratonsillar cyst in the left palatine tonsils. And you can see here the jugulodigastric lymph node on the left side is palpable. In chronic tonsillitis, it will be non-tender as well. Complications of chronic tonsillitis. Complications are peritonsillar abscess, parapharyngeal abscess, retropharyngeal abscess, intratonsillar abscess, tonsillar cyst, tonsillolith, focus of infection for rheumatic fever, endocarditis, and acute glomerulonephritis. Investigations. Because the treatment for chronic tonsillitis is the tonsillectomy, therefore we will have to operate the patient. So in this case, the following investigations are mandatory before surgical procedure. The investigations are complete blood count, then bleeding profile, especially bleeding time, clotting time, prothrombin time, and activated partial thromboplastin time. Similarly, blood urea, serum creatinine, blood sugar, hepatitis B surface antigen, and anti-SCB screening test. And if needed, ELISA method may be used to test these investigations. Similarly, X-ray chest, posterior anterior view, and sometimes ECG may be needed in old patients needing tonsillectomy. Treatment. The definite treatment for chronic tonsillitis is tonsillectomy. Anyhow, if a patient comes with chronic tonsillitis, but he is having acute attack of acute tonsillitis, in that case, first the patient is treated as by conservative treatment. So treat the patient as an acute case in this case. Once the acute stage is over, then the patient is offered tonsillectomy. Indications of tonsillectomy. There are so many indications. For example, chronic tonsillitis, recurrent attacks of acute tonsillitis, as I have said. Then 4 to 6 weeks following an attack of peritonsillar abscess. In this case, the tonsillectomy that is performed is called interval tonsillectomy. Then huge tonsils causing obstructive sleep apnea syndrome, huge tonsils causing mechanical obstructions to swallowing, persistent carrier of group A beta hemolytic streptococcus or diphtheria bacilli, sarcoma or lymphoma of the tonsil, and if the patient is having benign tumors of the tonsil in the form of fibroma or papilloma. There are certain unilateral indications. First, for approach. For approach, first we will perform tonsillectomy, and through the tonsillar fossa, we will approach certain other surgical procedures. For example, glossopharyngeal neurectomy in glossopharyngeal neuralgia. Similarly, if the patient is presenting with elongated stylet process in the form of Eagle syndrome, again, the tonsillectomy is performed, and through the tonsillar fossa, we will approach the stylet process. Similarly, tonsillar cyst, tonsillolith, foreign body in the tonsil, and suspected malignancy of the tonsil for biopsy purpose. These are some of the unilateral indications for unilateral tonsillectomy. Contraindications for tonsillectomy. There are certain absolute and some are the relative contraindications. The absolute contraindications are bleeding disorders, aneurysm of internal carotid artery, and acute infection of the tonsil in the form of acute tonsillitis. Then relative contraindications, for example, during epidemic of polio, severe diabetes and hypertension which are not controlled one, gross allergy and severe asthma, children under 3 years of age, and lastly, the hemoglobin level less than 10 grams. Methods of tonsillectomy. There are so many methods of tonsillectomy. The most popular one and the uniformly globally performed method of tonsillectomy is the dissection method or cold steel method of tonsillectomy. Second is laser, light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. The advantage of the laser tonsillectomy is that there is less bleeding, less pain, less scarring, and quick healing. But the disadvantage is that cost of laser therapy is high. Third is the cryosurgery. Cryosurgery utilizes freezing for excision of the tissues with the help of cryoprobe. Nitrous oxide cryoprobe can achieve a temperature of minus 70 degrees centigrade, while liquefied nitrogen can cool up to minus 196 degrees centigrade. Advantage of cryosurgery is again that there is less bleeding and less pain. The disadvantage is that histopathology of the excised tissue is not possible due to destruction of the tissue by freezing. The fourth method of tonsillectomy is radio frequency method. The fifth one is the coagulation method. In coagulation method, again the advantage is less bleeding, less pain, less scarring, and quick healing. Disadvantage is again the cost is high. The last one is the unipolar or bipolar electrocautery or diathermy method. Advantage in this type of tonsillectomy is the method is quick, there is less bleeding and less hospital stay. Disadvantage is this procedure is a painful procedure. The patient may have increased chance of secondary hemorrhage. Procedure, that is the steps of operation in a case of dissection and snare method or cold steel method. First of all, the patient is anesthetized by the anesthetist. Then the position of the patient is made, that is the rose position. The rose position is that the pillow is kept under the shoulders so that the head becomes extended and the tonsils and the oropharynx becomes more prominent to the surgeon. Then application of mouth gag. After applying the mouth gag, the throat of the patient is packed with the throat pack. Then the patient, then the surgeon starts dissection of the tonsils. The tonsils dissection is started from the upper pole. Then after performing the tonsillectomy, the hemostasis is performed. Then after both the tonsils are removed or hemostasis is cured, then the surgeon removes the throat pack, which was put to prevent bleeding to go down and to prevent regurgitation of gases. And then lastly, the mouth gag is removed. In this way, the procedure is completed. This photograph is showing you the rose position for tonsillectomy, and in the other photograph, tripod arrangements is being made for tonsillectomy. Complications of dissection method. The important ones are hemorrhage, then aspiration pneumonia, collapse of the lung, injury to the tonsillar pillars, uvula, soft palate. It may result in nasopharyngeal incompetence and nasal invitation. Then dental injury may sometimes may occur. Temporomandibular joint dislocation may occur. Tonsillar remnants and hypertrophy of the lingual tonsil. The most important complication in tonsillectomy is hemorrhage. It may be primary, it may be reactionary, and it may be secondary. The primary hemorrhage is that one which occurs during surgical procedure. The reactionary hemorrhage occurs after operation, but within first 24 hours, whereas the secondary hemorrhage is that hemorrhage which occurs after the operation, around about a week or so after the surgical procedure is over. The primary hemorrhage is controlled by pressure. It may be controlled with suturing or ligation, and sometimes it may be um, controlled with the help of electrocautery or diathermy, and sometimes we may need to undersue the bleeding point. If the patient presents with reactionary hemorrhage, then the patient having reactionary hemorrhage is taken to the operation theater. The patient oropharynx is examined under general anesthesia, and the hemorrhage, which is a reactionary one, it is controlled just like primary hemorrhage. In case of secondary hemorrhage, which occurs after a week or so, this is due to infection in the tonsillar fossa. The patient will have pain in the tonsillar fossa. He will be having bleeding from the throat. He may be having fever as well. In this case, the patient uh, the, is advised to have cold water gargles. The patient should be started proper parenteral antibiotics. He should avoid non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. The only paracetamol analgesia is given to the patient. Proper antibiotics are given parenterally for a week or so, and if need arises, the patient may need ligation of the anterior posterior pillars after packing the tonsillar fossa. Similarly, if this method does not control the bleeding, in that case, the surgeon may need ligation of the feeding vessel, which is bleeding in the tonsillar fossa. So in this way, secondary hemorrhage can be controlled. Post-operative care of the patient. After surgical procedure, that is after tonsillectomy, the patient is made nothing per oral for at least 6 hours. Then vital signs are monitored. For example, pulse, blood pressure, temperature, and respiratory rate. All these are monitored regularly. IV fluids are given for at least 6 to 7 hours. Then the patient is made to have a position that is called Sims position, coma position, or left recumbent position. The patient is advised to lie on the left lateral and a head down position. Prophylactic antibiotics are started. Analgesics are given according to the pain if arise, and the patient is advised to have dietary advice is given to the patient. This figure shows the Sims position. The patient lies on the left lateral head down position with under leg straight while the upper leg is bent towards the abdomen. Grades of tonsillar enlargement. Tonsil size or grading system. The size of the tonsils is graded on a scale from 1 to 4. 4 is the largest size. The tongue should be rested comfortably in the mouth for best judgment of the tonsil. Palatine tonsils are graded based on how much the airway is obstructed due to tonsil protruding from either side of the oropharynx. Two scales of grading systems are commonly used. These are number one, Brodsky's grading system. Second is the Friedman grading system. Importance of tonsil size grading system. Number one importance is that to have surgical evaluation, and second, airway assessment of the patients with obstructive sleep apnea syndrome. In Brodsky grading system, we grade the tonsil size from 0 to 4. In grade 0, The tonsils are not visible. Tonsils do not reach tonsillar pillars. In grade 1 plus, the size of tonsils is less than, they will occupy the tonsillar oropharyngeal area less than 25%. Tonsils will fill less than 25% of the transverse oropharyngeal space measured between the anterior tonsillar pillars. 2 plus means 25% to 49% size of the tonsils. Tonsils fill less than 50% of the transverse oropharyngeal space. 3 plus means 50 to 74%. It means that the tonsils fill less than 75% of the transverse oropharyngeal space. And 4 plus means 75% or more, tonsils fill 75% or more than the transverse oropharyngeal space. This is the diagrammatic representation of Brodsky grading system of tonsil enlargement from grade 0, then grade 1 plus, 2 plus, 3 plus, and 4 plus. Friedman grading system of tonsil enlargement. In this again, the grades are 0 to 4. Grade 0 means the tonsils are not visible in the tonsillar fossa, or you can say the tonsils have been removed. Grade 1, the tonsils are within the tonsillar fossa. They are visible. Grade 2, visible tonsils beyond the anterior pillars. Grade 3, the tonsils extend 3/4 of the way to the midline. And grade 4, completely obstructing the airway. These tonsils, you may call them as kissing tonsils. This is the diagrammatic representation of Friedman grading system for tonsil enlargement, starting from 0, then 1, grade 2, grade 3, and grade 4. In grade 4, you can see the both tonsils, they are so much enlarged, they are meeting in the midline. These are called kissing tonsils. Thank you for your attention.